Marty Heiser, I am your father. No, I'm not. But I did want to show this picture to Marty when we started out, and I can't show it on camera because I took it in a house that I was showing a few days ago, and it leads us into the possible discussion about post-racial America. And I know that in our heart of hearts we want to believe that America is we are post-racial. We elected a black guy president, and to quote Marty, like I often love to do, America now has butterflies flying out of its nether regions because the world's a better place. But however, having said that, I was in one of the 3 Comcast towns. Can't say which one, and I can't show the picture because I should not have taken a picture of something in someone else's house.
Yeah, really, what are you?
I don't need to apologize.
Obama's NSA snooping on people?
See the picture?
Hold on.
I'll explain what it is. It's a paper mache.
Oh my!
It's a paper mache.
That's not good at all.
No, it's a paper mache doll of President Obama, and it has above it a bumper sticker which you might recognize seeing around on people's cars and whatnot. It says "Nope" with the O being President Obama's logo. Nope, keep your change. Now, the interesting thing about the paper mache doll is it has its hands. Emily pointed out this to me. I didn't realize it. It has its hands tied behind its back. And what I did notice about it is it has a noose around its neck. And this is not in Alabama. This is not in Mississippi. This is not in. This is right here in Connecticut. Right here in Connecticut, someone has this in their house. And again, granted, they have the right. People can have whatever crap they want to have in their house. That's their business.
Freedom of speech.
I showed it to Marty, and I'm going to erase it off the phone because I should not have taken a picture of it. Not my house, not my business. Marty, post-racial America, are we there?
First of all, I think that image of basically the noose around the president's neck is absolutely reprehensible, and there's no place for it in America. I mean, we're a pluralistic society.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's reprehensible. The fact that you're shooting pictures inside a private home, it leaves me with a queasy feeling, but we'll leave that as it is.
I never took any picture. I've been to Marty's home, by the way, quite a few times,
Okay.
and I've never taken a picture. But I want to say this, Marty's house is pure as the driven snow. There's nothing bad in Marty's house, nothing I could ever... Not that I've been in every room in your house.
A couple precious moments, framed pictures somewhere.
Not that I've been in all the rooms in your house, but his house is this is a good man. And as a matter of fact, I want to mention another good man that I know named Tommy Marucci, who I know he lives in Norwalk. He'll see this when this gets onto Cablevision. And my friend Tommy Marucci was Italian, as you can tell from the last name.
Right.
30 years ago, back when it really wasn't done, it really wasn't a very widespread thing, Tommy Marucci had black people, friends of his, over to his house for events. His parents, Tommy's parents probably weren't real happy about it because he was still at that point living with mom and dad before he bought his own house. But here's a reach out to you, Tommy Marucci. You are a great person to have done that. Back 30 years ago, back in the day when it really wasn't done that much. Tommy was and Tommy's a Republican. Tommy's a right-wing Republican. But having said that, Tommy did the kind of thing that I know that Marty Heiser does too. He's way ahead of his time in terms of respect for everybody. And Marty's very much the same way. So I hold Tommy Marucci and Marty Heiser in extreme esteem.
Regard.
They're extreme regard. They're both great human beings.
Wow. Okay.
Post-racial America.
Post-racial America. I think basically the progressive left wings are way more hung up on race than your right-wing Republicans, who you just gave an example of. When I talk about post-racial America, the fact of the matter is we elected not once but twice an African-American president. There's 98% Caucasians in the state of Iowa, and yet Iowa was his springboard during the nomination process for the Democratic Party, and he overwhelmingly won.
The Democratic liberals are in Iowa, and Iowa's kind of weird because if I could just interject one quick thing. Could I?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying not to interrupt Marty because apparently I do that quite a bit, and mea culpa on that point. But in Iowa, I've been to Iowa. I was out in Iowa in 2004 briefly when a friend of mine named Howard Dean ran for president. And Iowa, and I have some great friends in Iowa that are farmers that are as liberal as you could imagine. Phil Specht, call out to you. Good man, known him for ever since 2004. Wonderful guy, farmer. And farmers are fortunate in the sense that they have a lot of time on their hands. When the crops aren't growing, they basically have to take care of the animals, but they don't have a lot of hours in their day of work in the wintertime. So it's kind of a work your arse off in the summertime kind of a job, and then you have a little bit of free time in the winter. So you could do a little bit of blogging and a little bit of communicating. But so Iowa is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde state where the right wingers in Iowa are as right as you could imagine, and the left wingers in Iowa are very, very left wing, and there doesn't seem to be any middle ground in Iowa. It's kind of an odd state in that respect. At least that's the observations I had out there. But again, post-racial America, Marty Heiser.
Okay, post-racial America. Basically, I would just point to the fact that we elected an African-American president, not once but twice. 90% of Iowa is Caucasian, yet they overwhelmingly voted for Barack Obama in the primaries.
Yep.
Not only that, but something as interesting as the most celebrated golfer in America is African American in Tiger Woods, and for a long time the most celebrated rap artist, Eminem, is a Caucasian. So if we haven't met racial equality, or we're not post-racist, we're pretty doggone close.
There's a lot of really good examples of it, and you're absolutely right. See a white kid, well, I guess he's not a kid anymore, but Eminem, a white kid that's doing the rap thing, and I won't call it music, I'll call it poetry, because it's really poetry. But you can't qualify it as music, sorry. But yeah, a lot of good examples. There's a lot of very tremendous examples of how we have come very far. But, that's the glass half full, glass half empty thing. And on the other side, the glass half empty, you see things like Ferguson, where thankfully, and it seemed fair to me that the officer was exonerated not because he was innocent, but because there wasn't enough evidence to indict him. And thankfully, he wasn't indicted. I think that's a good thing. But at the same time, we find out that the police department and City Hall in Ferguson were basically using minorities as a piggy bank to run the city.
They still are.
They'd pull over somebody for a traffic violation, and by the time they got done with them, they slapped them with 2 or 3 other things. And these are people that are middle-class folks that really don't have the money to pay a lot of tickets. They don't have $200-300 to shell out for a parking ticket and everything beyond that. So on top of getting stuck for the parking ticket, the add-ons, then if they didn't pay on time, bang, they're stuck with another fine. And they found that this is systemic. No, not systematic, systemic. In Ferguson, it was happening over and over and over again, where the police and the city government in Ferguson was using black people in a they were racist because it was based on their race. Okay. And it happens a lot everywhere. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Ferguson is a classic example of modern race baiting that we see in the liberal, progressive Democratic Party. I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened in Ferguson. Okay, we had a young man who did a strong arm robbery on a bodega, and everyone's seen it on the video. You can see it. He went in there, sold cigars. When the guy tried to stop him from getting off, he jumped him like this, threatened him, and left. He had a red hat on. A white police officer is driving on his route. He gets a call saying there was a strong arm robbery. The suspect had a red hat on. He sees the suspect with a red hat on, and he pulls over to question the suspect. The suspect charges his squad car, and we know this from the physical evidence. He grabs at his gun. We know this from the physical evidence because the first bullet hits him in the hand, and you can have the fire.
It's a close in. There's
then that's it. The officer is fighting for his life. The guy is 6'5", 300 pounds, whatever he is.
Yeah.
And tragically, this young man, and I have a young son as well, he did something very dumb, and he charged the policeman and grabbed from a weapon, and he died.
Kids can be stupid.
Right, kids can be stupid, but the left takes that tragic event and fosters this mistaken idea that the guy said, hands up, don't shoot, that he had his hands up. Absolutely out of the clear blue sky. That never happened.
Okay.
And the whole thing has turned into this race baiting thing where they gin up support. Why? Well, 90% of minorities tend to vote for your party, so if they're not victims, they don't need the Democratic Party. So as long as they're staying as victims and they're being oppressed by racist policemen that are out to shoot them, well, then you've got something. But the tragedy of it all is it keeps fostering. The policeman resigns. The police chief resigns. It keeps fostering until about 10 days ago you have a lone gunman that decides it's a good idea to shoot 2 policemen. One is shot in the head. He still has the bullet in his head, and the other is shot. Another tragedy.
Absolutely.
This is completely understandable. Yeah, you have a group of people where you have a young man who does not behave properly in the presence of a police officer that's making valid requests and decides to run him and grab for his gun, and the police officer responds accordingly, and that is somehow turned into America is racist, keep voting Democratic because after all you people are victims and we're the only one that can help you. And as long as we perpetuate that scenario, that narrative, it's just a dastardly thing that they're doing from our country. I didn't even begin to go down my list of things why we're not opposed, or where we are opposed racial. President Obama, the Attorney General, the leading law enforcement officer in the United States, is an African American. And when I say the Republicans have much less of a problem with this racist issue and try to foster it up, a la Al Sharpton, we have politicians like Condoleezza Rice, Jindal. He's like Indian or something. He went deep south. They voted for him overwhelmingly. What happened to all these racists that don't vote for minorities? There's Condoleezza Rice. There's Colin Powell. There's that doctor. I think it's
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson.
Right.
Thank you. All of these people. I really sense that.
Let me know when
America,
I have a minute to get us back on topic.
Okay. America, and especially the younger generation, has much less of an issue with this whole race thing than some of the aging progressives that are desperately holding on to we're a racist country when that whole charade or canard that there's a war on women is somehow worn off. When you gin up all this stuff to get your people to come out and vote, and that's your base. And it's unfortunate because America is a lot better than that. We're not as racist as everyone is making it out. And in particular, the police forces, starting here in Danbury and in other places, are not racist and are just trying to do their job by and large.
Okay, can I get us back actually on topic? The topic of the what's happening in Ferguson with what has happened and continues to happen in Ferguson with the police force and City Hall. For years and years and years and years. This is racist. This is not some kid and some officer. This is a much more overarching situation that was pointed out in the Justice Department report, where the police and City Hall are charging up black people for tickets on tickets, fines on not paying tickets in time, in order to run city government. That is a lot bigger of a story when you think about it. It's a lot bigger of a story of whether or not one police officer and one kid. This is kind of what led to black animosity in Ferguson, because blacks live this every day in Ferguson. And that's why. That's the racist issue.
Okay.
Just say one.
Emily.
I just wanted to say that when all these
She's like, I'm sorry. Is there someone else here?
when all these riots started taking place, the whole and it was in New York City. I mean, all over the country, riots started breaking out, and people say black people count, and then there were cases of mothers that young kids being shot on the playground. I mean, young 12-year-old kids, and just somehow caught in the crossfire. I mean, what were these kids accused of? I mean, why were these young kids shot? I mean, weren't there cases of...
Well, I'll tell you why. Sometimes
it was thugs and sometimes it was cops that shot them. Sometimes it was thugs and sometimes it was cops, right?
No, I disagree with that. I do not know cops going by and shooting 12-year-old kids in a playground.
Accidentally shooting them when they're trying to shoot somebody else?
I have not heard of a case like that. Okay. Maybe I'm just naive and living in the pearly white suburbs.
You could look it up. It happens.
Okay, more often than not, when there's a tragedy, why minority communities, their children will actually sleep in the bathtub at night for fear of stray bullets.
Yeah.
It is not racist cops. It's wayward minority, primarily drug gangs, going around doing drive-bys and aimlessly driving by in a car and just laying out a bunch of bullets. That's what happens.
Where do they get their guns from?
Well, most likely...
I could tell you if you want, but go ahead.
Okay, you asked me, you said I missed the point on this Ferguson thing.
Because
I'll tell you exactly the point. I'll tell you the overarching issue in Ferguson. The tragic shooting of the young man were as I laid out. The reason I know that is you had the Attorney General of the United States and a cadre of 30 to 40 FBI agents scouring the whole thing, and guess what they found out?
They found out the truth.
They found out that the grand jury that refused to indict the police officer was absolutely on the spot.
Absolutely.
And then they followed that up with an investigation of his civil rights being somehow violated, and they concluded that his civil rights were not in any way violated, and they couldn't bring a case.
Now, why wouldn't Eric Holder stick up for the black kid? What's wrong with Eric Holder? That's what you want to tell me, right?
No.
Why would Eric Holder come to that conclusion?
Well,
because it was the truth.
Exactly.
So Eric Holder arrived at the chief law enforcement official in the United States of America, did an investigation and found the truth.
Yes.
Now, having said that, he also found the systemic taking advantage of black citizens in order to feed the coffers of the Ferguson City Hall.
And not only that...
And why is that not true?
Not only that, he also found some racist emails that were floating around.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this grand investigation,
Yeah.
they came up with something like 75% of the population is minorities, yet 85% of the population that receives parking tickets or speeding tickets or something are minorities.
Yep.
So ergo, there is a disproportionate targeting, if you will, not to steal a page from the IRS, which targets group, targeting of minorities in speeding tickets.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's statistically shown out.
If I grant that point, something to be looked at.
Yeah.
But is that really the excuse for burning down the city?
No.
Is that really the excuse for shooting 2 policemen?
No.
Is that really the excuse for Al Sharpton and everyone else getting all hyped up about this?
Nope, but does it work in reverse? Does what happened with shooting 2 policemen and some burning and some looting, does that exonerate what led up to that, which was, as you spoke of, the police disproportionately handing out tickets and tickets on top of tickets to people that can't afford to pay them in order to fill the coffers of City Hall.
Okay, I'll grant you that point.
Thank you.
Proportionately, there's a little bit higher. I'll grant you the point.
No.
But, I mean, you can go into any police force in any jurisdiction throughout the country, go through everyone's emails, have 40 FBI agents go in there, have the Attorney General, have Al Sharpton, get the TV cameras out there and say, hey, is there any racism? Is there any percentages that are off? And find something bad. And ergo, it somehow is justification for all this racist, race-baiting nonsense. And I propose to you here that that is not true. It's just not true.
Are you going to ask me if I think Al Sharpton is a race baiter? Aren't you going to do that? Could you do that, please?
Do you think, like I think, Al Sharpton is often a race baiter? And I can go back to Tawana Brawley. I can go back to things. I mean, we've been around New York for a while.
I'm going to give you the long drawn out answer on if I think he's a race baiter on many occasions, and I'm going to give you the short answer. They're the same answer. Yes.
All right. Well, he's kind of the progressive, liberal, whole bleeding heart. Everyone's racist if it isn't for the Democrats coming into fiction. We
cringe every time that guy opens his mouth.
He's got a show on MSNBC. That's your station.
Well, look at the guys that have shows on Fox. My God, you got some nuts.
O'Reilly, Hannity, a couple of blondes. I think they're all good.
And they're all nuts like Al Sharpton.
Sorry,
they're all nuts like Al Sharpton.
No, I think
except on MSNBC they got the one nut, and and on Fox they got every hour except for Shep Smith. I like Shep Smith. Shep Smith is very reasonable.
But I find most of the shows on Fox. I find Bill O'Reilly reasonable. I find the other shows reasonable.
He's entertaining.
Special report with Brett Baer. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because a lot of these issues that weren't reported in the mainstream media, the media that gets a tingly feeling up their leg every time Barack Obama speaks.
I love it when he says that.
It's true.
It gives me a tingly feeling for Marty Heiser.
Hardball. Ooh, hardball.
Rachel Maddow.
Rachel Maddow, another one. Yeah, these guys are such, they carry the water for Barack Obama like you can't believe. And they can't find anything wrong with anything. And a classic example is Ferguson. Because the FBI goes out there and they do this vast investigation. They say, guess what?
That's their job.
Fair enough. Great. They did it. But they find out, guess what? There's no evidence here to convict anything.
One guy.
But we did find these emails, and we did find that they're giving out more tickets. Okay, so what's the lead?
It's a little more than
what's
that, but
the lead on MSNBC? Not that the police officer is utterly exonerated and the grand jury was correct in their assessment that there's nothing to... Oh, no, the lead is, well, they found this racist email.
But they did mention that in the course of the discussion, in the course of the reporting, didn't they?
Look,
I think they gave a very fair and balanced.
You watch your guy, Al Sharpton, on MSNBC,
not my guy,
and feel like you're getting the news. I'll be very happy to listen to Brett Baer on Fox News.
You can take Al Sharpton and you can take Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity. And Glenn Beck's not on Fox anymore, but he's got his own little gig somewhere else. You could take those four and you could put them in a tub, and you could send them off on a little excursion on the Pacific Ocean. And I would feel bad for them. I would feel bad when they ran out of water and ran out of food and starved. But I wouldn't miss them, honestly.
Maybe I'm naive, but I watch Fox News. I watch a lot of things. I read a lot of things. I watch a lot of things. I listen to a lot of things. I'm a bit of a news junkie. But I've found that Fox is willing to take on, for example, your new ordained queen, Hillary Clinton, and her emails.
Not my ordained queen.
Okay, well, she's your gal.
Not my gal.
Okay, well, she's got 80% of the vote on the Democratic Party.
She's probably going to be the candidate, but she my gal.
Fox News is willing to pursue these issues of the email, not just say, like Evan says, well, it's a private thing, and all these emails were about her yoga class. Okay, then, nothing to see here. It's all about her yoga class. Let's just move on. We love Hillary. We need a woman president.
I'll give you a parallel on
35,000 emails on yoga. That's a lot.
35,000. Okay, good. I'll give you a parallel on the Republican.
Hot yoga. You got your dying dog.
Hatha yoga. You got the Hatha yoga, and you got the
what are you doing with the other 34,999 emails?
I'll give you an example on the Republican side, and then I'll explain to you why. Really, both complaints, because this is a complaint about a Republican president, former Republican president, that sent out 5 million emails through the RNC while he was Republican National Committee while he was president. 5 million emails, and then I'll explain to you why both situations, both what he did and both what Hillary Clinton did, pretty much nothing about nothing. It's really both sides are really looking. They're really combing the woods for a story that doesn't exist.
So when there's a congressional investigation,
let me mention the reason why they're both much ado about nothing. In the case of George W. Bush, when he was president, sent out 5 million emails. Not through his own personal email account, like if it were Hillary Clinton, you would have expected.
With the server in Chappaqua.
Bingo.
I mean, it's like something out of a novel.
But if it were Hillary Clinton sent out 5 million emails, and probably a lot of her 35,000 emails are very similar to what one President George W. Bush sent out through the RNC, basically fundraisers. And I'll bet that probably a lot of Hillary Clinton's, probably a few of them are about yoga. There are probably a few of them complaining to friends about what an asshole her husband is. Can I say that on television? I guess I did. But having said that, a lot of her emails that she's not given up are probably stuff like fundraising kinds of things that are personal, things that nobody has any business knowing anything about. Nobody needs to know about her can I say menstrual cycle on television? That's personal physical kinds of things. It's stuff that really nobody needs to see, but apparently the Republican Party wants to see all of these personal emails and won't be satisfied till they see every one of them and get to pick over every one of them. Likewise, George W. Bush sends out pretty innocuous fundraising emails, 5 million of them, and the Democrats are looking to make that into a big deal. That's not a big deal. 35,000 emails from Hillary Clinton, personal emails, not a big deal. Sorry, no story here. Let's move on.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
I'm sure.
Basically, let's just take one little data point. The Benghazi attack. There are subpoenas from a congressional committee asking for all emails related to Benghazi. In a 3.5-month period, before, during, and after the Benghazi, they received two emails.
We're going to be coming back in a second because, okay, we've got 2 minutes. Okay, we'll go a little further with this. But I want to mention the Republican-led Congress's final report on Benghazi and what it found. But go on.
Okay, the beauty, you're walking right into this. You may want to rethink that. Because these emails, these documents that have been requested and now have been subpoenaed, that ought to be interesting, getting out of a subpoena. The Clintons are pretty good lawyers. Let's see how they get out of that. None of the information has been forthcoming. And that time period I was talking about, that 3.5 months before, during, and after Benghazi, when a sitting ambassador, the highest diplomat in Benghazi, was murdered, they came forward with 2 emails. I mean, I've seen pictures of Hillary on, Air Force, whatever, emailing away. That's a lot of yoga emails. You think there's only 2? I mean, sometimes I think...
Are those 2 relevant to Benghazi?
I have no idea. Apparently they are. And not only, but today, just today, you can't make this stuff up. Just today, Hillary Clinton walked out on at the UN. I'm here defending women and their production. This, everything. I'm here to defend women. And on these emails, every email that I sent out was sent to the State Department server, and it was captured there.
We're going to come back in just a minute, but we're going to lead off with. This is going to be on Thursday, noon 30 show. I'm going to lead off with the Republican Congress's findings about Benghazi, their ultimate final report after, what do they have, 35 or was it 350 hearings on that? They had a lot of hearings on Benghazi.
Listen, you may make light of a diplomat being dead. I don't make light of it. I think it needs to be investigated, especially when they put out a lie saying that it all has to do with the YouTube video.
Okay, here you go. We're gonna get to that in just a second. We're gonna come back, and this is gonna be on Thursday, noon 30. This has been Progressive Soup. I'm David Stevenson. Emily Volpintesta, co-host, who occasionally we let get in a word edgewise. we try our best. She's really bright, but she's bright, but she's bright, but she's not loud like Marty and me.
And there's a couple of them.
She's bright, but she's not as loud as Marty or I.